No, stop it. Stop picking through those noses. You'll get whatever I decide to put on your ugly little face. Don't keep picking your nose. You are not getting, you don't care. Don't care. You're getting what you're given. Stop trying to pick your own nose. Oh. Hello. Hello. How are you? Oh, we have had some times down here. Oh, I know I haven't been around for a while, but we have had some times. You know, remember how my brother Hippofaces was supposed to fix our furnace? Yeah. Well, my brother Hippofaces, it blew up. It blew up when we were out on the summer solstice. The furnace blew up, and I have spent the past 6 weeks, 6 long, icky weeks, doing the most gruesome jigsaw puzzle imaginable as I stick the demons back together. You get the nose I glue on your ugly little face. Quit nagging me. Yeah, so not fun. Not fun. And to make it even more not fun, the Milwaukee family players, I go to sit down to have a nice relaxing evening of theatre, and the Milwaukee family players give me, I don't like this play, The Merchant of Venice. The Merchant of Venice, which they insist is a comedy, but so not a comedy. That thing is a tragedy. That is a tragedy. Is also a very complex case of contract law gone very badly wrong. I know a great deal about contract law. So needless to say that having spent all day gluing demons back together because the furnace exploded, oh, it's a mess. We had to move entirely. We just couldn't get the stink of exploded demons out of the wall. It was just new studio here, new studio, new palace. I mean, it was just the smell, the stink of frizzled demon fur. Ugh. Horrible, horrible. I've been gluing them back together. It's not been nice. So anyway, The Merchant of Venice is what I'm going to tell you about today. Merchant of Venice, which has the great and tragic character of Shylock, the moneylender, and the really nasty, nasty rest of the cast. I didn't like any of them. I mean, and the thing about this is there were more laughs in Lear. There were more laughs in Lear. So I really don't see how this is a comedy. I really, really don't. But to get through, we'll get through it. So we start out in Venice, where Antonio, who is the merchant of the title, is feeling not happy for no good reason, though people suggest maybe it's because your Arguses are all out at sea and you're worried about them and blah, 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 blah. But he really has no reason to be unhappy. He is wealthy and he is privileged in a society that privileges wealth and Christianness. And so he has nothing actually to be concerned or sad or worried about, apart from the fact that he's got all his eggs in one basket. Everything is at sea, but that's his choice. Anyway, he then meets with his relative Bassanio. Now, Bassanio is supposed to be the young lover in this. Bassanio is a spendthrift nothing. He is not an eligible bachelor. He makes Edmund look good. Remember Edmund from Lear with the two ladies fighting over him? Yeah. He makes Edmund look eligible. That's how icky. He has spent all his money, all his fortune. And having spent all his fortune, he then plans to marry, if he can, a young lady called Portia who lives in Belmont and whose father has decreed that she will marry whoever can answer his special riddle of 3 caskets. But because he has spent all his money and now he plans to get himself a wealthy wife and spend all her money, no doubt. I guess he's hoping that she's so wealthy that there's no way he can spend through her money. But frankly, I wouldn't want a husband who'd already used an entire fortune. He's not like Petruchio, I have come to wave it wealthily in Padua. No, none of that. At least Petruchio had his own fortune. No, this is, I've spent through all my money. Can I borrow some money from you so that I can go and find somebody to get some more money so I can spend their money? I mean, yuck. Really? Really, really, really. I just cannot, I can't, anyway. I just can't. I can't. Anyway, Antonio says, all my fortunes are at sea, but you can go around the moneylenders and see what you can borrow using my name as surety. Wonderful plan. Wonderful plan here. So this is what Bassanio does. He goes around and starts to see who will lend him money so that he can go and get this wealthy woman to be his wife. Charming, absolutely charming. So we then meet this wealthy woman. The scene changes to Belmont, where Portia is being courted by numerous suitors, and she doesn't like any of them. They're all attracted by her enormous wealth, and they're boorish and they're tiresome, and she doesn't like any of them. But fortunately for her, none of them decide that they want to try the caskets, and so they leave her in peace. But she's getting tired and bored of this whole situation. But she does get word that another suitor is coming, and this man is from Morocco, which she doesn't like because he's black. Okay, you getting the drift of these people? These people are not very nice people. Really not very nice people. Because seriously, my husband, Hades, my husband is black. I don't like people who are going to judge a book by its cover. No. So I am not liking this Portia lady. I am not liking her at all. Meanwhile, Bassanio has met up with Shylock, and Shylock is a Jewish moneylender because that is one of the few things that he is allowed to do. He is a member of a minority community who is segregated and excluded from the majority of Venice popula. And Bassanio has told Shylock that Antonio will be standing surety for this money. And Shylock doesn't like Antonio. Is Antonio a good man? Bassanio thinks that good man is talking in moral quality, and Shylock means, no. Is he good for the money? Is he good for the money? Once Bassanio has persuaded Shylock that Antonio will be good for the money, he then brings Antonio to sign the papers and sort out the legalities, the contracts. This is where I shine in contracts. That we'll get to that too. So he comes to sign the contract. And you would think that when you are getting something from someone, whether you like them or not, you would not be like really rude and spit on them. I mean, seriously, he spat on Shylock. Shylock tells him, I don't like you. You don't like me. You've spat on me in public. Spat on him. You've called me all sorts of racial and religious slurs, and you have spat on me. So, are you good for this money? If you are not good for this money, I have a bond for you. And Antonio is like, I'll spit on you again. I will call you that again. Because I am borrowing money from you does not mean I am suddenly going to treat you with any sort of respect. And so Shylock says, well, I will need a bond to make sure this money is paid back in the 3 months that it is due. And, for giggles and laughs, how about that I take that money out of your hide? I will take, if you cannot pay the money back, a pound of your flesh. And Antonio, because he cannot possibly imagine that he could ever be bested by this man, he says, sure, I have ships coming in a month. This will not be a problem. And so he signs this contract. Nobody forces him to sign. Nobody forces him to sign, because then that would make you bad. But it's like he doesn't even protest this. Now, as far as I can see, the only problem that Shylock had is that he didn't make sure that his contract was 100% watertight. See, he should have gone and met my contract lawyer. My contract lawyer. Now, say hello, Mephistopheles. Yeah, that's Mephistopheles, my contract lawyer. You ever heard of Faust? He's down here. I'll tell you about some other contracts we've engaged in. But my contract lawyer, you don't get out of my contracts. That, as far as I can see, is all Shylock did wrong. He needed a stronger contract. You have to be careful. There are certain things that you should really invest in. And contract lawyers and accountants are 2 of them. Anyway, so Antonio signs the contract. Bassanio now has his money. And the first thing he does with his money is he decides to throw a party. I mean, I can see where this fortune is going to end up. Should he marry the rich lady, is going to get pissed up a wall. I wouldn't trust him with 2 cents. Not a bit. Anyway, Morocco comes, and he comes to Portia and to choose the caskets. And he sees just how much Portia dislikes his appearance. He chooses, of the 3 caskets, gold and silver and lead. And he decides gold. He's going to pick what many men desire. He picks gold, and unfortunately, because I would love to see that haughty lady married to someone she despises, he loses. And so he has to leave. Her next suitor is a Spaniard from Aragon. And he, likewise, goes to choose. And he chooses the silver. He chooses as much as he deserves, only to find himself looking at a mirror. And so he, likewise, loses the lady. And just as Portia thinks that she has done with suitors for the moment, news comes that a Venetian is coming, and she hopes that this might be Bassanio, who she has met in when her father was alive. And so she is hoping that it might be him. Meanwhile, back in Venice, Lancelot has left Shylock's service and entered service with Bassanio. Now, Lancelot is given a note by Jessica, Shylock's daughter. And Shylock's daughter is planning to elope with Lorenzo. And she has a letter where she is explaining exactly what Lorenzo has to do in order to carry her and jewelry and treasures away with him. Exactly, we don't really know much about this relationship, how he met her, why she's suddenly falling in love with someone who's so completely outside of her world. Shylock is going out that night and he tells his daughter to lock up his house. He obviously doesn't want his daughter going off. But he trusts her. He gives her the keys to the house. So he is expecting her to behave like a good daughter and not go and be the robber herself. And before you start saying, but that's the pot calling the kettle black, you ran off and married someone against your... My father was quite happy for me to marry. It was my smother who was completely against it. My father was only too happy for me to get married. He said it was about time. My smother is the one who didn't. So, not the same at all. Besides, my smother came around. So, Shylock goes off and Lorenzo takes Jessica. Jessica drops down a chest of treasures and then leaves with Lorenzo, and they travel, they go, they disappear. Bassanio travels off to Belmont, and the next we see is Shylock. Or actually, we see two Venetians who are fairly unpleasant little creatures. And they are mocking Shylock and what has happened to Shylock, that he has been lamenting the loss of his daughter and his treasures. And pretty soon, Shylock enters and they poke fun at him. They poke fun at him and mock him for his loss of his daughter and his treasure, his money that has been stolen from him. And he says that he doesn't see how this is funny. He doesn't see how this is funny, but he does hear. He does also hear that Antonio has had a shipwrecked. Ooh, and can't pay the money back. Antonio is not able to pay the money back. And Shylock is, this will make me feel better. It's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory, really, but because he'd actually probably be worth getting the ducats back. But I will have my revenge on these people. It's sort of a scattergun revenge. It's a Christian hurt me, so I will hurt a Christian back. But, you know, they've been doing this for quite some time. And frankly, he does say that they will teach him how to be revenged. So I don't think we can be terribly, terribly surprised that his vengeance is, you know, not very nice. It's not as if he's not following his own contract. Really? Well, you're going to be surprised that somebody you bully, when they finally get a chance to be in the higher position, that they're not going to take that. Of course they're going to take that. That's why you don't bully people. You never know when the tables will turn. So in comes Shylock's friend. He's been seeking Jessica for him, and he's seen Jessica has been spending his money crazy, like as though it's all going to keep going. And it's like, they haven't taken that much. They haven't taken everything Shylock owns. They've taken some treasure and they are spending it like drunken sailors. That is the thing about this play that makes all these characters who are not Shylock really obnoxious, is they care just as much about money as he does. In fact, they care about it more than he does, but they are also, they see it as their due, that they should get it, that they don't have to work for it. I mean, Shylock at least works for it. He's despised for it. He's honest about it. They are not honest about it. They will spend like drunken sailors and pretend that that's all fine and dandy and that they are owed that living, because none of them go out to work. They're all venture capitalists or, you know, inheritors of wealth. They're not working for it. So the double standard is something else. Meanwhile, in Belmont, Bassanio gets the option of the caskets, but Portia, now this little manipulative little piece of work, she is not Cato's daughter, Portia. This is a very manipulative. I don't like this woman, Portia. She has a song played to give clue that to Bassanio about which one he should pick. And he avoids the gold and he avoids the silver and he goes for the lead because he has risked all and he's a great risk taker, which is partly why he's lost all his fortune in the first place. Because what happens when he burns through her fortune? I mean, what's he going to do? Like, get rid of her and get a new wife? Because that's what his history rather suggests. I wouldn't trust him unless she's like made of so much money that he can't even imagine it. But I'm pretty certain he can conceive of a vast amount of money. I would not trust him. Anyway, she manipulates the whole thing so that he definitely picks the lead. She gives clues. You're not allowed to give clues. That's not part of the thing. But she does. And so he picks lead and he gets the lady. Only to discover that as soon as having got the lady, that he discovers the problem that Antonio is in, that Antonio is being held and Shylock will not take any money, that he wants his bonds. And Bassanio is a bit beside himself and decides to instantly, now that he is married to Portia, take money and give it back to his friend. So instantly it's mine. What's yours is mine. Literally, and I will use it however I want. Yes, he's an unfortunate and unpleasant man. I do not like him. I do not like him at all. And his companion is engaged, finds himself engaged to Portia's maid, Nerissa. And they are both given rings against their from their new wives, and they're told not to lose or break or give away, or yes, basically it's stuck on their finger. So Bassanio and Gratiano go back to Venice to try and rescue their friend Antonio from the evil Jew, from his own stupidity. This all reminds me, all of this, with all these people not liking contracts, all of this reminds me, I said I'm good at contracts. Well, this all reminds me of Orpheus. You know Orpheus? Orpheus who played music beautifully. Orpheus whose wife Eurydice got bit by a snake and keeled over. That Orpheus? Yeah. Well, Orpheus was, I think he may have been one of the sons of brother cousin Apollo. I think that's why he could play music so well. But he got married to a nymph called Eurydice, and contrary to popular belief, nymphs are not immortal. Nymphs are just very long-lived. Though how on earth she managed to get killed bit by a snake, because that's not really what kills nymphs. Nymphs die when their streams polluted, or their spring is polluted, or their tree is cut down, or that sort of thing. Bit by a snake. I don't think she was a nymph. I think she just told him she was a nymph, up her value on the marriage market, because nymphs don't die from little piddly snake bites. They just don't. What, a nature entity die of a snake bite? Yes, just the same way demons don't die if the furnace explodes. You just have to glue them back together. They make a lot of noise, but you just glue them back together. They're all good. They're all good. Occasionally you can't find bits. You fill that in, scraps. But anyway, Eurydice dies, and Orpheus is so bereft that he does, I hate when they do this. He forced his way down here. It's never good when the mortals force their way down here. A, because it's not built for them. It's really dark and it's not built for them. And B, it upsets all the order of everything. And C, they're going to come down here soon enough. I don't know what their rush is. So anyway, he comes down here because he charmed my doggy with his songs. I don't know how he did that. My doggy is not supposed to be charmable. Lovely big spot. But anyway, he charmed my doggy, got past my doggy. For some insane reason, Chiron let him across the sticks. Goodness knows, I think it was the music too. Really, I ought to give Chiron some headphones. Some headphones and an MP3 player with some death metal, because we can't keep having this happening. Noise cancelling ones. So he gets down here and he presents himself all the way down here. And remember what happened last time somebody presented themselves all the way down here, and what my husband said? Well, he came down and he starts blubbering and weeping and moaning the way that they always do, especially when they discover that, oh my, you were a hero. Well, you're dead now. You're down here. Suck it. Sorry, that was Achilles. Achilles just really didn't cope well. Very unpleasant man, Achilles. But so he comes down and he tells this terrible tale about how his wife died, and he would like her to come back for at least, a normal span of mortal life. And seriously, the normal span of mortal life, there is no average. With your infant mortality rate, your average is about where Eurydice died anyway. He didn't think of that. But he was thinking more the 70 years and 10 or something. 70 years. He was expecting long. long. And frankly, if you got bit by a snake, you're definitely immortal and not a nymph, as he was led to believe. So he comes down and carries on and plays his music, and I have to admit, his music was very good. His music was very good. And so we said, we decided, Hades and I, you know what? I think we can get ourselves two for the price of one. I think we can get ourselves a musician. You think? Yeah, I think so. I think so. So I said to him, I pretended to be moved. I pretended. I'm good at pretending. People don't mention my name for a reason. But I pretended to be moved by his story. And I said, Eurydice can return to the upper realms with you if you do not, while you are in the infernal realms, turn around and look at her until you are both back in the sun. Yeah. Now that was our contract. Verbal contract, but very clear, very clear terms and conditions. Very simple. And so he agrees to this. And so they walk out, and she's hobbling a bit. Of course, it doesn't actually work like that because the spirits don't have bodies, and so they can't actually get out into the sunlight anyway. But that's by the by. We don't bother mentioning that. So she's hobbling out. He's walking along, and they get out, and he gets into the sun. And he forgets exactly what I said. I said, do not turn back until you are both in the sun. And he gets into the sun and turns around, and poof, she gets pulled back on a little rubber band. That's what he gets to see. She wasn't going anywhere. The dead don't go anywhere. He turned around, and it was in the contract, and no matter how much he bitched and moaned, we weren't going to do it again. It was a one-shot deal. He blew it. Contract was very clear. Just like Shylock's contract was very, very clear. So Bassanio comes in the hope of rescuing Antonio. Shylock has not been appeased. He has been offered huge amounts of money, but he will not be appeased. He will have this pound of flesh. No other option. Portia and Nerissa pretend to go to a monastery to pray for their husband's safe return, but they're actually going also to Venice, where they will dress up and pretend to be lawyers. Now, this is where the good contract lawyer would come in so much handy. Shylock, this is where you spend your money. This is where you spend your money. A good contract lawyer will create a contract that no tuppenny halfpenny bush lawyer can pull it apart. So, in the court, Shylock is prepared to take his pound of flesh. These two young, a young lawyer and his clerk, have been sent for by the court. The apprentice of a very famous judge, who will adjudicate for them. see if there is any loophole that they can get through. But no, the contract is very clear. It is a pound of flesh. And yeah, my lawyer would not have left a loophole in it. No loopholes in my. See, with my contracts, he would have got his money and his pound of flesh and his revenge. No problem. Mephistopheles has never messed up a contract yet. That is why I pay top dollar to Mephistopheles. People don't get away from me that easily. But because there is no blood, and because it is a pound of flesh with no equivocation, Shylock is unable to exact his revenge. And so he says, oh, I'll have the money then. And then this is where it starts to get mean and vindictive. And suddenly Shylock's revenge doesn't seem to be so terribly vengeful. Because what happens to him is way in excess. Having lectured him on mercy, lectured him on showing mercy to this man, no one else desires to show much in the way of mercy or Christian charity to him, because this tuppenny halfpenny bush lawyer decides that, having even intended to exact the forfeit of his contract, that he has attempted the life of a Venetian and must be punished. Now, to be clear, he hadn't done anything. All it is talk. Talk. Now, if you can be punished for thinking about doing something or talking without actually doing, then that is a very dangerous world. A very, very, very dangerous world. That is not good. Just talking. All he has done, he hasn't touched Antonio. Okay, frighten him. Serves him right. But he hasn't actually done anything. And all of a sudden, his lands and his life are forfeit. This seems excessive. And then the Duke shows him mercy by giving him his life, but a fine that gives half his fortune to Antonio and the other half to the state. He complains rather rightly, that's my livelihood, you may as well take my life. Antonio then says, I will show you mercy. Of course, Antonio's mercy is not mercy. Antonio's mercy is twisting the knife. Antonio gives him back, or releases him from the fine, so half his estate, still keeps half, insists that on his death, his half of the estate be given to Lorenzo, the man who stole his daughter, and he must become a Christian, which means he can no longer practice in his money lending, which means he is now cut off from his family, from his community, from all his friends. And do you think any of these nasty people are going to be nice to him just because he is a forced conversion? No. He is going to be isolated and alone. And that is not mercy. That is cruel. That is worse than anything. They destroy him. And they call it mercy. Tragedy. The end of the play is that the pretended lawyer, this tuppenny halfpenny bush lawyer, goes and begs the ring from Bassanio and her clerk, begs the ring from Gratiano, and then when they come back to Belmont, they show, oh look, you don't have the rings that we Anton gave you. It's all supposed to be funny, but frankly, it's so, the center of the play is so cruel that none of the jokes work. It's not funny. I mean, Lear is funnier. Lear is vicious and violent and dark, but the comedy flashes through it like dark lightning. This left me with an unpleasant taste in my mouth. And so it's all supposed to be happily ever after, and Antonio's ships some of his ships have been found not to be wrecked, and so his fortune is restored. But then none of them are worthy of it. They get the happy ending, but only because they have been nasty and cruel and spiteful. I do not like this play. I will not be asking the Milwaukee family players to do this play again. I did not like it. Now, I have to go back to gluing demons together again. But I will see you next time, very soon, where we will be doing a great play. A great play. We will be doing Julius Caesar. So, until then, bye-bye.